Nah, this is light work. What's going on? What's going on? Nah, this is light work. What's going on? What's going on? All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started soon. What's Masterminds? I'm Luna Music. What's Masterminds? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. It's running out. I'm running out of time. I wanted to do this at 1, but right now it's 1:17. No big deal. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. This is a beat I made earlier this week for an artist named K Matador. You can check him out. Got a whole lot of house records we've done. I think this is the 4th or 5th song we've done right now. I think it's 4th. So we're rolling right now. 4th in like the last 2 months or something like that. So we're knocking these tracks out. Um, and so just I mean, just get started. I gotta start mixing this joint. Gonna start with the kicks and the drums and the bass. It's a house record. Drum and bass is very crucial, it's very important. You want people to dance, you want people to have a good time. So if those aren't tight, your house record is kind of dead. So let's go ahead and get started on that. I'm gonna start on the kick. I'm gonna turn the volume way up so I can hear it loud, like as if I'm in the club, and then I'll check it out at moderate level. But right now, I feel like doing it loud, so I'm gonna turn it up and let's work on this kick. All right, right off the bat, it hits great, but it's got that weird noise in it. So I'm gonna try to EQ some of that out. Okay, no success there. Actually, I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna use the Logic has a stem splitter, and I'm curious to see if the stem splitter will um, get rid of that for me, since it sounds like it's an instrument instead of just a drum. So where's that stem splitter? Okay. Sometimes it's grayed out. I don't know why. I'm gonna have to learn why it grays it out sometimes. But if I make it a new audio file, usually it will come back. Yeah, there we go. So now I just want to take out the drums and probably other or piano. I'm just gonna do them all just because I don't know what it's gonna classify that noise as. All right, split the stems up. Let's see if this kick is clean now. Hopefully it is. I don't know. We'll see. Nope, still there. One thing though, you can't really hear it in the mix, but I think I can try to EQ it out a little bit, and because that did not work. All right, so let's try. I'm gonna use FabFilter to do it. See if I can EQ out that note. As I'm doing it, it's also getting rid of the punch of the EQ of the kick, so I don't want to do it in the wrong frequency. I'm listening for where it's loudest, and I'm gonna try to EQ that out. Maybe somewhere like here. Seems like it's worse here too. All right, I'm just gonna live with that and start adding the bass and see if it masks it a bit. But while I'm here, I might as well roll off some of this low end. Let's go to 72, bring it up to about. This one has a really deep bass, so usually I like to have one instrument take over the super low instruments, and then the other ones, the other bass instruments just a little bit higher. What'd you say here? When I get LO to master my project, definitely check out some of my music. Sure. Yeah. Submit it at Nero.fan/KofiaJMusic. I have a or you can check the link in my profile. I have a basic music review thing I'm doing on Fridays. So tomorrow actually. So just submit your song and I'll check it out. All right. So let's get rid of that little noise in the kick. It's a little bit more subtle. All right, I'm gonna add some bass and see what this sounds like. It feels like. Ducking is a really huge thing we do in house music, especially, or club music. So I'm gonna duck the bass so that every time the kick hits, the bass is ducking. Seems like I already kind of did it here, but I'm just gonna dial that in. So right now I'm just listening for like muddiness. So I want it to be relatively clean. So sometimes you got to duck the instruments, duck the bass a bit more than you would think you'd have to. But the more you duck it, the cleaner it gets. But then you also still want to keep the bass in there, keep that super low energy in there. So we have to just kind of find the right balance to where it doesn't sound muddy, but and it's still loud enough. But everything has its own space. Yeah, that note is driving me nuts. Well, that worked. So this is Nicky Romero Kickstart, and what I did is I, instead of doing the typical on the ands, um, basically it ducks on the first part of the beat and then goes up on the ands. Instead of doing that, I'd pick the opposite version. So it's kicking on it's hitting on the downbeat, and then on the ands of the beats, it's going down, and there's no volume there. So it's kind of getting rid of that noise. So I'm gonna try one of these two, and then try to get it tight so I can get rid of that little beeping noise that's in the kick. Okay, it's still kind of in there with this shape. I'm gonna try this shape. So it's completely gone in that shape, but it might be truncating the kick too much, so I'm gonna move it over just a little bit. Moved it over way too much. Okay, hold on. Let's compare. Let's do that again. All right, move it over just a little bit. But I don't want that to be down. I don't know if I can do it. This is probably fine though. There we go. That's a good medium. Okay, so now I can get rid of these EQs that I did earlier to try to get rid of the noise in the kick. So I'm gonna get rid of these EQs, and what did it was the Nicky Romero plugin. All right, so now I'm hearing that bump, bump, bump. That note right there, it feels like it's getting a little out of control. So I want to go ahead and put a fab filter on that and EQ out, well, EQ down that frequency. All right, one quick way to do that is just go straight to that note. So I'm gonna play a part where they play that note. There we go. So it's right in the beginning. So I'm just gonna loop that part just so I can make sure I get the right frequency. So like my room is still rattling, but now it doesn't sound like it's completely out of control with the kick. So the kick and the sub were fighting at that frequency. So that's great. Yes, I'm doing the live music reviews tomorrow, Friday, 1 p.m. So submit. I'm gonna go ahead and put that link in the chat too, because you're the second person that's asked me. Let me find it. Nero. It's Nero.fan/Kofia J Music. I'm gonna put it in, pin it to this. If I get a whole lot more submissions, I'll do it more frequently. But right now, I'm only getting like 10 a week. So tell your friends, submit multiple songs, and we'll start doing it more times a week. All right, cool. So I pinned that one as well. Back to the song, I got rid of that frequency. So now the kick and the bass are more balanced. I also put the sidechain track spacer plugin on there and dial that in a bit. So now the kick and the sub are living together on those really muddy frequencies. And so instead of being muddy together, they were working together. Now I'm just gonna try to dial it in even some more, get some extra bass in there. All right, that feels pretty good. Now let's add some, if there's any other bass instruments, I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. I have a subfall right here. I can do that later though. There's no other drums going around it. Kind of just want to work on this section, mixing the instrumental. So let's go ahead and add drums, some more drums. Let's go ahead and add that backbeat. That's typically what I do anyway. Backbeat is like your clap, your snare, the thing that's on 2 and 4. Great, thanks for submitting. I'm gonna check it out tomorrow. So to me, that sounds nice and tight already. I'm just gonna get a volume balance. I feel like it's a little loud, but other than that, I like it. It's a little dry too. I might put some reverb on it, but sometimes I kind of like the drums to be kind of dryish. Only like intentionally add space, or depends on the vibe of the song. I think this one, if it's super tight, would sound really good. Okay, so the only thing is it's kind of dynamic. So the loud parts are really loud, the soft parts are really soft. So that's the definition of when I need a compressor. I'm gonna just use Logic's regular compressor, and I'm just gonna leave the default on there because I really don't want any coloring. I just want it to do its job. So I'm just gonna compress it by 2 dB a little bit, and just 2 to 1 ratio, and I'm gonna dial in the threshold. Okay, while I'm doing that, it's peaking a bit. I'm gonna turn it down on the input so it doesn't do that. So I'm thinking I might need a higher threshold than ratio than that. I'm gonna go up to 4 to 1 because it's still very dynamic. Okay, that feels a lot better. And I put this limiter on to take care of any issues of it peaking. So okay, I got that backbeat done. I got another backbeat instrument, so let's see what that sounds like. I think it's just a clap. Same ordeal with the clap. I think I just needs a compressor a bit to make it tighter. Um, I think I want to use Slate's compressor though. Slate Digital is a great plugin suite if you don't have it. I've been using it for, I don't know, 7 years now maybe. So FG, this one is really good on drums. It's really in the default on a lot of snares and stuff like that if you use their presets. That's what I like to do. I like to load the presets and then understand what they used and why they used it on there. So like classic snare always has this compressor in it. So backbeats, snares, claps, I can use this compressor and probably be fine. Okay, I might EQ that clap a little bit later, but right now it's good. All right, I'm just gonna keep adding instruments. I don't want to add the super high instruments yet, high frequency instruments. I like to do that last because they're kind of easy if you just dial them in and at a low volume. Um, so I like to just have those be like this, the stuff that keeps it from being muddy sounding. And so I like to do all the mid range stuff first, and the bass instruments, and then work my way up. So, and I like to go the most important to least important. And I think the next most important thing is this Rhodes, because it goes through the whole song. And it's like really the catchy glue of the song. So I'm gonna work on that, make sure that's really good, because you're gonna hear it the whole way through. We definitely want that to be locked in. Okay, first thing I notice is too loud for sure. I'm gonna take some of this reverb off, and I'm gonna make it in the stereo field. I want to make it less wide. I feel like it's too wide. I want to make it more centered. Things that are in the center typically are the most important sounds, because they're usually the strongest signal. If you play it in mono, it's always gonna play the center, you know. So no matter where you're at in the world, not every system has a stereo system. So if your song is playing in mono, you want it to be strong. So you want the main instruments to be strong in the mono mix. All right, that sounds good now. I just think it's a little thick, so I'm just gonna EQ it the way I want it to sound in the stereo field and go from there. I mean, I think that's pretty good. Now I'm gonna add the rest of the tonal instruments. I know this string line is really high, so I don't really want to add that yet. It's not really gonna be affecting the mid range that much. I think maybe some of these other elements might. So let me check these other elements. Yeah, this one for sure. I already did an EQ on this to cut out some of the low end, and I like that. I think it might just be too loud now. Okay, it's also sounding a little harsh, so I'm gonna take out EQ some of the harshness out of it. I do like how it's present and punchy, but I want to get rid of some of the harshness. I feel like if I turn it too loud, I'm gonna be like, ooh, I don't like that. Yeah, that softened it up a ton. So I know this frequency range is what I want, but it also made it quieter in the mix. So I'm gonna turn it back up. Okay, the other thing I want to do with this, I feel like it's not wide enough. Like it's all kind of in the middle of the stereo spectrum, which is not good because the important things, the most important sounds need to go there, and I don't want them to mask each other or to have to fight for space. So I'm gonna widen it using this plugin called Wider by Polyverse. I'm just gonna widen it just a little bit. Okay. Another thing I'm noticing, since this is the detail business, now we're in the mixing mode, is really good to like really get detailed. And this sound, I'm listening to this extra reverb that sounds kind of weird from me chopping this sound up. So I had this loop probably, and I chopped it up. Yeah, it's the dub disco, whatever that is. And I chopped it up, and so it has some extra reverb coming in from other parts of the file. So I'm gonna try to get rid of some of that extra reverb stuff. See right there. I don't want to hear the boom boom, that little thing before the boom boom before the main instruments hit. So let me go make it tighter. That sounds good. I like both of those. But I mean, this one's clean. This one doesn't have that note, that sound in it at all. I might just take this. It's the same chords. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna do that. So let's fade this part out, fade this reverb out, and then just use this on every time it happens. If you have it on no overlap, you can just go over top of what you have already and it'll erase it. I think the rhythm is the same each time as well. So let me see. First, let me play this and make sure I like it before I copy and paste it everywhere. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now I have to do this for every single time I have that, which is a lot. Okay, so I'm gonna just make sure I get them all. I'm gonna copy. Actually, I'm just gonna do this hook and this post hook together and then clean that up, and then I can just post it. I mean, copy and paste it everywhere. But I have to get rid of these extra little regions that are created when I copy and paste it, because if I don't, they will still be playing the old stuff and it won't sound as clean. So I don't want to do this for the whole song because that would be super annoying. So I do it this way. I'll just do it for this section and then I'll copy and paste this section. Another thing you can do is make this one big region before moving it. So I got rid of all the extra stuff. Let me just double check that it's perfectly what I want. One more. Okay, sounds good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just join, yeah, join these 6 together. You highlight them all, press J, and it'll join them as one region. And then now I can just copy and paste this over everything. Every time it happens. And it perfectly overlaps so you can tell if you're doing it right or wrong. Oops, I have a blue, still got an extra blue thing here, region. Let's get rid of that. So the safest way to do it, since this goes continuously throughout these sections, I'm just gonna go ahead and just delete it. But before I delete it, let's make a new track playlist just in case I mess up, and I can just always go back to the old version. All right, boom. Copy paste there. What up, Bo? Copy paste there. And I'm gonna do the same thing throughout each time it happens here to get rid of that reverb because we're being detailed. There we go. Replace that, and replace that. Okay, now we should be good to go with the whole song. Now I'm gonna continue mixing the rest of this hook. I'm gonna revisit the bass. I'm gonna revisit the bass again because I'm hearing something in this section that I don't really love. So let me mute the other instruments real quick. I'm just gonna play the kick and the bass together because there's an extra thing being played that I didn't address the first time I went through the bass because I was playing a different section and I didn't hear it. So I'm gonna mute this. Now I'm gonna just focus on the kick and bass, making sure they're tight together, even with that extra funky note. All right, here we go. Yeah, somewhere around here, I feel like they're fighting. I'm actually gonna mute my speakers and just listen to the sub. I don't know if you guys at home can do that, but if you can, do that and you'll hear what I'm hearing. Actually, I can simulate it for you guys as well. I'll just do it real quick. Put this plugin on here. I can just solo this, and this is basically what it sounds like. Sounds like it's that frequency, I think. So instead of moving that, let me go back to what it was. I just need to add another one to take care of that frequency. Yeah, it's way more controlled now. I think it's here mostly. Yep. Probably could take care of it with one EQ, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Well, I'll just make it more narrow. I have two of them. All right, let's see what it sounds like with the kick playing. That sounds good. All right, dope. Now I'm gonna see what it sounds like without the sub stuff. All right, dope. It sounds way more controlled now. All right, I'm just gonna play the hook again and go back to where I was at in the mix. Still haven't worked on the vocals yet. I'll be doing that after this. All right, so I think we're good. So yeah, I'm gonna do these percussion instruments. these bongos real quick. They're really just too loud. Everything's mostly just too loud. Again, this instrument is just way too much in the middle. I'm gonna make it wider. I like things to be stereoed out. If you, that's kind of my taste with me with mixing. So different plugins do widening and narrowing differently. So I didn't really love how that did it, honestly. So I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna try the S1 Imager. See if that sounds good. So yeah, it's widening it, but it's not doing a great job. I don't know what's up with this sound, why it doesn't want to widen. All right, let me try P spread. PS22 spread, whatever it's called. Try some of the wider presets. Yeah, I think I like that better. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is use this sample delay, and I'm just gonna delay the right signal by 512 samples, and that just completely puts it on the far left and far right speaker, and then I'm gonna use S1 Imager in conjunction with it to narrow it a little bit so it's not all the way wide, because I don't want it to really be all the way wide. Now I can hear it a lot more clearly as well, and it feels like it's pulling left, which is cool. Like, I ain't got no problem with that. But now I can tell. Before it was just kind of like cluttered up with everything else, and I couldn't tell. So yeah, I think I'm good there. With the bongos, I'm gonna add reverb and stuff later. After I get everything balanced, then I'll start putting some space for the instruments. But right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and just be adding mid-range instruments. I kind of like how it's compressed already. It sits in the mix pretty well, this vocal sample thing. So I'm just going to really turn it down. It's already got reverb on it and everything too. So I'm just going to try to blend it the way I want to blend it into the mix. Okay, I do think it'll get in the way of the vocals a bit. So what I'm going to do is EQ some of this 2K-ish range out. Kind of lets it sit in the background too, like it's hiding a bit, which is cool. I like it like to peak out. I like it to be relatively loud in the mix, but not to the point where people like, oh, what's that? I just want it to kind of hide in the back. I think that's a good way to do it, actually. So I'm just going to EQ out the 1K-ish frequency, which usually brings presence to a sound. So it usually brings it closer to you. 2K will brighten it up. 4K, you'll be able to understand the words better. So I'm going to just leave the 4K brightness and stuff in there. And then I'm going to take out the presence so it sits further in the back in the mix. Yeah, that was super subtle change, but that made all the difference to me. Like, that was really dope. I like that. Not gonna do anything else to that sound. That sounds perfect. Okay, I think that's the last super important sound. Not really sure what. Oh, okay, that's just a hit. I'm gonna add the strings then. Let's get a good level for the strings. So this plugin right here is really good for getting your what do you call it, side chaining. It's like a really quick way to do side chain, and it sounds pretty good. I think I want to hear the pump a little bit more on the string line, so I'm gonna try out some different settings for this. Yeah, I feel like these strings could be super wide, like a lot wider. So I'm gonna try another spreading thing, which is gonna be the P spread. I think that will sound the best on this. And I want this to live in the same frequency range. Well, it kind of already does, as the vocal sample. That thing we were playing earlier. I can't sing the note right now. This instrument. It kind of lives with that, so I want it to be balanced really well with that and not to get in each other's way as well. So I'm gonna go to highlight both of those and just mix them together, to be honest with you. Probably the smartest thing. Let's do that. I'm getting rid of some of the brightness on the strings because it's kind of competing with that vocal sample. I can hear both pretty clearly. And the only thing I did spread I want to spread it even more. There we go. And now to me, they both clearly have their own space, which is great. All right, let's see what it sounds like with the rest of the instruments in there. So I can turn that up a lot. just remembered I also want to add some distortion to that 808 because it kind of comes and goes, I feel like, which is more of like a compression issue. So maybe distortion and compression for the 808. I mean, for the sub bass. The distortion will bring it closer so I don't have to like search for the sub. I don't have to search for the bass. It just show it's in my face a lot more. And then I'm gonna use Decapitator to do that. And then I'll use a compressor to get a little bit more control on the dynamic range. This is mainly the only bass in the thing. So I'm just gonna use my bass compressor on my bus. So first let's do one thing at a time. Let me get to dial in the distortion and then I'll add the compressor on the bus. There's one bass note that feels like it's a little early, so I'm gonna quantize the bass real quick. You can quantize the MIDI by turning the flex on with this bow tie, and then go up here to quantize 16th notes. Yeah, maybe that was it. Let's see. No, everything else seems good. So it's just those notes that were a little not perfectly in time. It sounds a little early. Let me see. Okay, I think it holds too long. So I think I can tighten that up with a compressor, to be honest with you. If not, then I'll try that Nicky Romero thing, or I'll try something else to try to get rid of some of the tail end of that sub, because it's just a little bit too long. It's creating some mud down there. All right, let's try to attack it with the compressor first. What I am loving is that I'm feeling the bass every single note now, which is much better than before, where I was feeling the bass in some notes and not really hearing it at all in other notes. It's cool, like when you're making the track, but once you start mixing, you need to really start making sure everything is sounding how you want it to sound, because that's it, really. It doesn't get, you can clean it up in other stages, but it's always better to do it when you hear it. So I think I killed some of the dynamics of the bass, so I'm gonna try to let off of the attack a little bit. All right, so now I'm gonna try that thing where I shorten the note using plugins. So I'm gonna try to use that Nicky Romero thing again. Okay, it is just a frequency issue. It's too that deep that deep note is just too much. So I gotta tame that a bit. If you have a sub, you'll be able to hear what I'm talking about. There we go. Starting to tame it a bit. Mixing is all about control. All right, I think I got it completely. My sub's not going crazy anymore, so that's great. But then you also want to not get rid of it too much because that's kind of in the sound. It's in the song. Unless it's really annoying, then get rid of it altogether. But if it could be tastefully used, you know, to have some extra rumble. All right, something like that sounds pretty good to me. Let me listen to it again. All right, and then also I've kind of just been noticing that the kick and backbeat are just too loud. And I typically do that in here. I don't know why. Maybe it's just habit of mine, and I typically have to reduce the kick and the snare volume. I guess when I'm playing loud, that's when I do it. When I do a lower volume playback, then I can tell that it's too loud. And now that since I added the distortion, the perceived loudness of the bass got a lot louder as well. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for what I have today or right now. I didn't get through all of it, but I'm gonna finish the rest of it later. But I'm just gonna get off this live before it gets too long-winded. But that's pretty much how I'm mixing this house record. It's coming together pretty nicely. The client's very happy about it, and I just got to work on the vocals after I get this beat together and be ready to release it. I think he told me it comes out April 16th, so this one's gonna be a quick drop, literally a week. So, yeah, you're gonna hear this song out there in the world in a week, which is great. I'm Kofi J. I hope you learned something. If you like it, just follow me or subscribe to my channel. If you want to work together, it's kofiajmusic.com. Just the link is pinned in the bio. I mean, in the comments right here. But it's kofiajmusic.com. You can book a session with me or attend my weekly webinars. I've started doing webinars, explaining my process, explaining how to book a session with me, the behind the scenes. Also, I'm giving away an exclusive discount for first time clients of mine. And if you attend those webinars. Are Wednesday and Sunday at 1 p.m. It's on Zoom, so it's not on live here. It's on a Zoom call, so you have to fill out a form and sign up. But if you just DM me or go to my website, you'll be able to do that. Also give you a price of how everything's going to be priced, so you'll know before even the webinar what the price of what you need is. But yeah, that's it. I'm Kofi J, and tune in tomorrow for. I'll be back on here at 1 p.m. as well tomorrow doing live music review. So if you want me to review your music, submit it on there. That's also pinned in the chat. It is Nero.fan/Kofi Music. Nero.fan/Kofi Music. All right. Show Mario Clark. Oh, appreciate it. Thank you. I make custom beats for people, so you just tell me what you need, what you want, and then I make them happen. I do have a BeatStars beat shop, but hasn't been updated in like 5 years. So some of those beats are still dope, but yeah, check me out, hit me up, let's chat, and I'll catch y'all next time. All right, see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. for live music reviews. Peace.